Good morning, this is Ms. Strawn, and I will be talking to you today about how to approach the multiple choice questions, not only on the AP Lit exam, but in the practice activity that you'll be working on in class today. Okay, so you probably have picked up your practice multiple choice questions from the substitute, and you can look at those and maybe you could write notes if you'd like as we go, or you can do that on a separate sheet of paper. I will put this video on Schoology so you can reference it at a later time. So today you're going to need that practice multiple choice question packet. You'll need a pen, and you can also use your literary terms list, which I have given you. I gave it to you earlier in the year, or a dictionary. So you can use both, or you can just use one of those. You may also reference your play, but I think that referencing your play might be somewhat confusing since you only need to focus on the passage that is printed on the page to answer the multiple choice questions. Okay, so let's get started. Our goals for today. Number one, it's to practice answering those AP style multiple choice questions. Notice the term is practice. This is not a test grade. However, in order to get an honest feedback and an honest answer, you need to honestly do it independently. Second goal is to learn the types of questions that you might see on the AP multiple choice questions and to learn some strategies to deal with those questions. So, what kind of questions will be asked? There are actually about 8 types of questions that are found on the multiple choice section of the AP Lit test, but we will only look at 5 of those types today. That's not to say you might not encounter a few on your practice packet that are from those other 3 we will not be talking about, but I'm only going to talk about 5 strategies today. So the first type of question that you'll find are just basic reading comprehension questions. And those questions are asking about what does the passage say on a literal, concrete level. These are simple, basic, like did you read questions. They're the kinds of questions that you would find in that question study guide packet that I gave you yesterday. So in those kinds of questions, they'll usually use words like according to, asserting, and mentioned. And the strategy for these kinds of questions is to go back and reread the portion of that text associated with the question. Make sure you are reading it correctly. And it's best to read some sections before, like a sentence or 2 before the part that's actually mentioned in the question, and a sentence or 2 after in order to find the best answer. The second kind of question that you might see is an inference question. So with an inference question, just like you would find even on the EOC test, you'll usually see words like infer and imply when it's an inference question. And the strategy is very similar as it is to the reading comprehension. You will go back and read the part of the passage that that question is concerned with. And don't be tripped up by the fact that you're making an inference. You're looking for the answer that is supported by the best and the most text. So there might be more than one correct looking answer. And sometimes that's the frustrating part of the AP style questions, is that it doesn't mean that necessarily all of the answer choices are wrong except for one. Some of them you could make a case for, but you're looking for the answer choice with the most support from the passage. A third type of question that you might find is interpreting figurative language. So they're going to ask about a specific device, be it a metaphor, a simile, apostrophe, and they're going to ask about what it means in context of the passage. So since the meaning is dependent on the phrase's context, guess what the strategy is? Yes. You will need to go back and reread what is said around the figurative phrase so that you can figure out what it's referring to and get the correct answer. it also helps that you actually know what that device is. So the more devices you know, the better chances you are of eliminating the wrong answers. The fourth kind of question that you might find is a character analysis question. And these kinds of questions, they're simply going to ask you to identify something about a character. What can you tell about their opinion, their attitude, or their beliefs? This is a inference question also. This is kind of an inference question. It's just geared towards character analysis instead of just saying implies. So pay attention to everything that's directly stated about the character, and then you're still going to need the most evidence from the passage to have the best answer. The last kind of question that I'm going to talk about today is just the overall passage questions. And in these types of questions, they are asking you to take a bird's eye view, to look at the totality of the passage, to discuss its purpose, its tone, its genre. So consider the overall picture. And what will be helpful for you is if you have annotated that text as you have read it the first time through, then you will not have to reread as much. You can look at your annotations to help you determine what the best answer would be. So the kinds of answers that you'll find a good answer, a better answer, and then the best answer. So frustrating but true is that there's not necessarily a wrong answer. So how do you find the best answer? So I suggest that you read the passage carefully the first time through, especially in a time situation like the AP Lit test. You're going to need to not have to reread a passage 5 times. So read it carefully the first time and mark shifts, characterization, any figurative language that you see as you go, so that you save yourself time whenever you come to the questions. You should also treat each multiple choice question like it is a short answer or essay question. So try to cover up the answer choices and try to answer the question on your own. So read the question, try to answer it without looking at the choices, and then look at the answer choices, and hopefully you'll find an answer that matches up with what you were already thinking before you looked at the answer choices. And the best thing to do is just let the text be your guide. What answer can you find the most or best textual evidence for? What corresponds to that particular passage? And then process of elimination always works, especially on the figurative language section. Eliminate all of the obviously wrong answers. So the answers that maybe are there for people who didn't read carefully, or the ones where the definitions don't match up. Okay, so now I want you to try it. Independently answer the practice questions using these strategies. Now remember, I will allow for corrections to be made. I'm expecting it. So do your best to answer without discussion so that you have an honest idea of the process, and so also that everyone in the room has a work environment that mirrors what the expectations would be on the AP Lit exam. Okay, hopefully you'll have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow.